Please join me in welcoming Governor Sarah Palin. Thank you so much.
Humbled. I am honored to get to spend this evening with you. Thank you, CCU, for being here for the right reasons and understanding that, freedom is not free, but freedom is a God-given right and it's worth fighting for. And it is our United States military, it is our veterans whom we have to thank. We salute them for protecting the freedom, for protecting our Constitution. You are here for the right reasons. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for being part of the solution that we need here in our country today. God bless you. And again, thank you, United States military. Thank you, veterans. God bless you. Well, before we get started even, in speaking of being here for the right reasons and supporting TAPS and all that Bonnie is doing and the sacrifices that she and her family have made in order to help those who have been touched by tragedy, I thank you for showing your financial support for such a group and in order to kind of articulate in plain speak, in simple terms, which I'm very comfortable doing. I want to read you something. You probably have heard it before, but I want to read you something that we believe was written by Charles Province some years ago. And it is, again, in just simple terms, why it is that we're able to assemble here today freely, why it is that we know that we can be here safely, and those with opposing views even are able to express their views and share and debate and discuss. The reason that we're able to do that is because of the sacrifices that our military has made for us. Let me read you this real quickly, because we do need to remember that it is because of the veteran, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is our veteran, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the veteran, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to protest. It is the veteran, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the veteran, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. And it is the veteran who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, and who allows the protesters to burn the flag. It is the veteran who is allowing us to be here today. So, with that, we salute the veterans. We recognize that without the sacrifices that have been made by them, we would not be sitting here today. And what a place to be sitting today. A basketball court for one. I'm just tickled to get to be here. We just feel right at home. And in Colorado, a lot of similarities between Alaska and Colorado. I think that residents from both states, we both chuckle when other states describe their monumental mountains that we have. We all kind of just chuckle and look at each other, Colorado and Alaskan residents, because we know what real mountains really look like. And a lot of similarities, a lot of commonality too between some of you who are here today. I know we have a lot of Alaskans here today. It was great to meet some of the students, the ROTC students too, who are from Alaska. And General Boykin here, Todd, he's backstage, and he said to tell you that you're a heck of a shot. General Boykin and Mike Ingram and Todd, these guys, they all went pheasant hunting together, and Todd was bragging you up, telling me what a good shot you are, and I'm like, pheasants? Who could not hit a pheasant? You need to come out to Alaska and fill your freezer with the moose or something, or a bear or something, and then we'll see what kind of shot you are. But very, very honored that you are here, and we look forward to hearing from you here at CCU. And what a wonderful school this is. I was reading some of the foundational principles of CCU thinking, oh man, you guys are spot on here. If only everybody would embrace what is taught as foundational principle at CCU. Here as their mission is to honor Christ in all that they do and to impact our culture in support of traditional family values and the sanctity of life and compassion for the poor and having a biblical view of human nature and limited government and personal freedom, free markets, natural law, original intent of the Constitution, and Western civilization. As they are seekers of truth, I think you're spot on. That's exactly what it is that we need to impact our culture. You hear politicians go on and on and on today with their ideas, their doctrines, their maybe a new philosophy of where it is, an ideology where we should go as a country. And I think, no, just go to CCU, just read what it is that they stand for. It's spot on, and that's what we need for young people to embrace, to live out in order to positively impact our nation. So CCU, you're right on. Your foundation is there. Stay strong, students. Keep up the good work. So good to get to be here with President Armstrong again. And as I say, General Boykin and John Andrews for this wonderful event. Now, last night, thank God, last night, all of us hearing the news that one of the evil leaders of Islamic extremists who was responsible for the murders of thousands of innocent Americans had finally met justice at the hands of America's finest. It is my honor to get to speak of those finest in uniform today. We get to pay tribute to those finest, our United States military. I know that we'll probably all remember as individuals where we were that September day when the horrific thoughts and ambitions and plans of this terrorist cut short the thoughts, ambitions, and plans of beloved innocent Americans who were heartlessly murdered on September 11, 2001. God bless all the brave men and women in our military and our intelligence services who carried out the successful mission to bring Osama bin Laden to justice, and all those who had laid the groundwork over the years to make that victory possible. This historic action that was announced last night, it was the result of the diligence and the hard work and the character of countless American warriors. Those who know that those who spread evil, those with murderous intention, they must be contained. Those who would kill in the name of religion, they must be stopped. In Denver last May, I was on a panel that was moderated by Colorado Christian President Armstrong. I was there with radio hosts Hugh Hewitt and Dennis Prager. And we were asked a question on that panel, what we believed was the greatest threat facing America. Dennis Prager answered first, and he said that he believed the single greatest threat to our country's future is that we seem to be failing to pass on what it means to be an American to the next generation. And I agreed with his concerns. But I had a caveat when I agreed in my answer to what it was that he said. I offered, if we are truly, though, delinquent in teaching the next generation what it means to be free and how important it is to defend freedom, then how do we explain the thousands of young men and women, my own son among them, who, though they have never tasted anything but freedom, how is it that they would choose as patriots to join our United States military and fight for freedom in distant lands far from the comforts of home? Who are these young American warriors? What is the character represented in those who are sitting up here on this stage? They are volunteer troops. They enlist because they instinctively know that America is worth fighting for and that America's enemies must be defeated. fighting warriors in our armed forces are willing to lay their lives on the line to preserve and protect something greater than self, to defend the American ideal of liberty. They represent the very best among us. They embody our highest ideals, and they represent American exceptionalism. And yesterday, their courage and their determination brought us justice, especially justice for the victims of 9/11, those families. God bless those families who suffered so much on 9/11. Yesterday was a testament to the military's dedication and relentlessly hunting down an enemy through many years of war. And we thank our president, we thank President Bush for having made the right calls to set up this victory. Let me give you another example of victory, among thousands of examples that we can think of in our military. An example of the heroism over the years. One of Colorado's newest residents is Staff Sergeant Sal Junta, and he's a new resident in Fort Collins. He's the first living service member from the Afghanistan or Iraq conflicts to receive the Medal of Honor. He was a rifle team leader in Afghanistan, and it was on October 25th, 2007, his unit was ambushed shortly after nightfall. Sergeant Junta described it, there were more bullets in the air than stars in the sky. A wall of bullets at everyone at the same time with one crack, and then a million cracks. They were close as I've ever seen. But the sergeant kept his cool, he relied on his training, he fought off the insurgents, and he rescued several members of his unit, including an injured soldier who was being carried off by the Taliban. Junta's squad leader later praised him, saying, "We were outnumbered, and you stopped the fight. You stopped them from taking a soldier." When he was notified that he was being recommended for the Medal of Honor, Sergeant Junta was humble. He said, "If I'm a hero, every man that stands around with me, every woman who is in the military, everyone who goes into the unknown is a hero." Why do these American heroes go into the unknown? See, it was years ago, G.K. Chesterton, he wrote that the true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but it's because he loves what is behind him. They fight because they love America, and they love the ideals that America represents. What America stands for is liberty and justice and equality and the empowerment of the individual. Now, the enemy that we're fighting loves death, the subjugation of women, and a twisted promotion of the survival of the fittest through fear and hate and lies about America and our purpose in the world. Yesterday, when we learned that the public face of Islamic terrorism was killed, there were already voices declaring, well, our war on terrorism is over. It is not over. We are still at war with a brutal enemy that hates America and our allies and all that we stand for. So we must not retreat. We cannot let up. The war wages on. Our troops and our intelligence services, they have proven again and again that their courage to defeat the enemy in the same face, the same overwhelming odds that Sergeant Junta faced, those threats are still real. In fact, they may be ramped up after the events of yesterday. And that's why when we continue to send our troops into harm's way, they deserve the clarity of knowing what their mission is. And the decision to insert American units in areas to hunt down and to kill bin Laden is an example of the needed decisive leadership that our troops deserve. An example it is of the proper use of force to protect America. So of course we celebrate that important tactical victory that we found out about yesterday. You know, there's no military in the world that could have accomplished what that young team of SEALs accomplished. No military in the world but the United States military. I believe as the details unfold and as we become more privy to the events that happened, I believe that it will be fascinating and even more confirmation of why it is that we should be so proud of those SEALs. But many serious questions, of course, will demand answers as this tactical victory, the details of, are disclosed. Many serious questions if you think about it. One, bin Laden, he was killed in an affluent city outside Islamabad, and it wasn't in a dark cave in some remote mountains. He was living in relative luxury. How long had he been there? The town where he was hiding is home to the Pakistani equivalent of West Point. According to some reports, the gun battle took place just about 800 yards from the Pakistani military compound, from their academy. Lots of questions. Many retired Pakistani military officers live in the area. How was the most wanted man in the world able to avoid detection, living in comfort in a mysterious super compound in plain sight? General Boykin, you can probably get to the bottom of some of this for us, okay? We look forward to hearing from you on this. Because we know that speculation will be that, well, at least some of the Pakistani leaders perhaps were helping him. Consider that just last October, too, the U.S. offered $2 billion in military aid to Pakistan. That's on top of the $7.5 billion plus that we provide them in civilian aid. So we deserve answers to our questions, and we should demand answers to our questions from that government. We also must demand that anyone who had cooperated in hiding bin Laden be brought to justice. So lots of questions about the burial, about photos, and those things will certainly be disclosed, we must trust. But despite these lingering questions, we're not going to question the integrity of our troops. Credit belongs to the troops and to our intelligence services for this victory. They were given a clear and a vital mission with defined objectives, and they accomplished the mission. A lesson here, then, for effective use of force, as opposed to sending our troops on missions that are ill-defined. And it can be argued that our involvement elsewhere, say in Libya, is an example of a lack of clarity. See, these are deadly serious questions that we must ask ourselves when we contemplate sending Americans into harm's way. Our men and women in uniform deserve a clear understanding of U.S. positions on such a crucial decision. I believe our criteria before we send our young men and women, America's finest, into harm's way, I believe that our criteria should be spelled out clearly when it comes to the use of our military force. I can tell you what I believe that criteria should be. I can tell you what it should be in 5 points. First, we should only commit our forces when clear and vital American interests are at stake, period. Second, if we have to fight, we fight to win. To do that, we use overwhelming force. We only send our troops into war with the objective to defeat the enemy as quickly as possible. We do not send our military and stretch out some mission with an open-ended and ill-defined mission. Nation building, it's a nice idea in theory, but it's not the main purpose of our armed forces. We use our military to win wars. And third, we must have clearly defined goals and objectives before sending troops into harm's way. If you can't explain the mission to the American people clearly, concisely, then our sons and daughters should not be sent into battle, period. Fourth, American soldiers must never be put under foreign command. We will fight side by side with our allies, but American soldiers must remain under the care and the command of the American officers. And fifth, sending our armed forces should be the last resort. We don't go looking for dragons to slay. However, we will encourage the forces of freedom around the world who are sincerely fighting for the empowerment of the individual. When it makes sense, when it's appropriate, we'll provide them with support and help them win their own freedom. We're not indifferent to the cause of human rights or the desire for freedom. We're always on the side of both. But we can't fight every war. We can't undo every injustice around the world. But with strength and clarity in those 5 points, we'll make for a safer, more prosperous, more peaceful world. Because as the U.S. leads by example, as we support freedom across the globe, we're going to prove that free and healthy countries, they don't wage war on other free and healthy countries. The stronger we are, the stronger and more peaceful the world will be under our example. Now, some of these principles may sound familiar, and a few of them were first expressed back in 1984 in President Reagan's cabinet. They were designed to help us sharply define when and how we should use force, and they served us well in the Reagan years. Times are much different now, but I believe that by updating these time-tested principles to address the unique and changing circumstances and threats that we face today, they'll serve us well and into the future, now and into the future. Remember, Reagan liked to keep it simple, yet profound. Remember what he would say of the enemy? He'd say, "We win, you lose." And some may argue that, well, today, in a world where we're dealing with terrorist organizations rather than Cold War adversaries, these principles are outdated. On the contrary, these principles are timeless. They will allow us to effectively and forcefully defend our vital national interests and those of our key allies in the age of terrorism. We must vigorously defend ourselves, but at the same time, we must not wear down our armed forces with never-ending and ever-increasing commitments. I believe that America, though, must never retreat into isolation. The world would be less safe and less free without our leadership. And we must never forget that America has a responsibility to lead. To whom much is given, much is expected. We cannot be the world's policeman, granted, or the world's ATM, but we can lead by example, by our words, and when necessary, by our actions. We will remain the world's abiding beacon of freedom. Now, we may hear from pundits, from some of the elite in the Beltway, the politicos. In fact, I often hear from them on a daily basis that some of these common sense ideas, which I dub them, that they're passé and that America is in decline, is what some of them would articulate and want you to believe. But a nation that can produce and support the men and women that we have up here on stage, a man like Sergeant Junta, a nation that can produce these volunteer patriots and the brave warriors who defeated an enemy yesterday. We are not in a nation in decline if we can look to these young people and realize that they still want to protect America and fight for America. That is proof that we are not in decline. We have America's finest willing to sacrifice for this country. They're willing to sacrifice all for all of us. Here we have in America gifted private sector entrepreneurs who create wealth and they provide jobs, and we attract the best and the brightest minds in the world wanting to come to America. Do you notice not a lot of people are wanting to leave America? They're wanting to come to America because We believe in American exceptionalism, and we believe in the pioneering spirit that can be found in places like Colorado. No, America is not in decline, because America believes in itself and in leaders who believe in America and who believe in the providential hand that can guide us. We need leaders who embody the same standards to which our men and women in uniform hold themselves. Remember, the true soldier fights because he loves what is behind him. What's behind him here is tradition, it's patriotism, it's not a need for a fundamental transformation of America. It's for a renewal of all that is good about America. It's a renewal of what CCU stands for. Our fighting men and women love America values. Remember that they love their families. They love this providential land which God has shed his grace upon. They love their fellow American. They fought for us. They've protected us. They've given us the justice that America deserved. They know that freedom isn't free. It's a God-given right. It's worth fighting for. They have made us proud. Now let's make them proud. Thank you for loving the United States of America, for supporting TAPS, for assisting the survivors. May you be blessed in the mission, Colorado, and thank you for being part of the solution. God bless you, Colorado, CCU, and God bless America. Thank you.
Beautiful. They omitted an except some flowers from the Rockella kids.
Okay.